So let's start at the top of the ladder, totaling up the income, and figure out some ways that having a little pre-planning can help us in 2025. And one of the first things that I would encourage you to do is to take your income before we consider any deductions and things of that nature and just figure out your marginal tax bracket. Your marginal tax bracket is the rate at which the highest portion of your earnings will be taxed. So, for example, let's say if you're looking on screen, we're looking at the tax brackets for 2025. We're going to assume that we have a couple that makes $250,000 combined. If you're looking at the federal tax brackets, you'll see that in 2025, that makes their marginal tax rate 24%. And to me, that's valuable to know because it gives you an idea of how valuable any deductions that we find might be. What does that mean? Well, let's say that this couple makes $250,000 and they decide to put $10,000 into their 401ks and their IRAs. $10,000 in pre-tax retirement contributions reduces the income on which they pay taxes by $10,000. Well, if we know that the highest portion of their income is taxed at 24%, their marginal tax bracket, then we also know that by reducing their taxable income $10,000, they are saving $2,400 in taxes. It gives you an idea of just how powerful certain deductions may be, so that if you're deciding between making certain retirement contributions in terms of the amount, or if you're deciding between making a pre-tax retirement contribution, which helps reduce your taxable income, versus a Roth retirement contribution, which does not, those are the types of things that you can know by looking at your marginal tax bracket. You also want to project any bonuses that you typically earn and have an idea of the withholding for those bonuses as compared to your marginal tax rate. Going back to our example of a couple that makes $250,000 and have a 24% marginal tax bracket, it's really important that they know that because for many people in this country, when they get bonuses, the amount that they have withheld from that bonus for taxes is preset by your employer. And in most cases, it is 22%. Now, let's imagine that you're somebody who's in the 32% tax bracket or the 37% tax bracket, and you have a bonus where they're only withholding 22%. That can be a much wider gap that you have to plan and project for when it comes to how you plan for your 2025 taxes. And another reason why you want to have an idea of about how much you'll earn is because it's instructive in filling out your W-4. The W-4 is the form that your employer asks you to fill out to predict or project how much taxes they should withhold from your paycheck to make sure that you don't owe a significant amount at the end of the year. And it's something where based on the number of dependents in your household, based on the income in which you earn, it is a stab in the dark because your employer only knows how much you'll earn. They don't know the other activities that you're doing in your financial life that impact what you do or don't owe on your tax return, which is why, in my opinion, unless you have a very, very straightforward tax return, and I've shared why, in even those cases, I encourage you to use a tax professional. I often ask my high income earners to consult with their CPA or their enrolled agent to get their help based on the other activities they're doing in their taxable environment to know how much should be withheld from their paycheck. As an example, we have people who, from an income perspective, would have a marginal tax bracket in the 30s and higher, but maybe they're exceedingly charitable or they have other losses that they're taking somewhere in their tax return. And when you factor in those losses, they have a lower tax bracket than you would expect given their earnings. And conversely, the opposite can be true, where you have somebody who just doesn't predict the fact that their spouse is earning a significant amount of money and may not have the same level of withholdings, or you have a bonus that you weren't expecting and they get to the end of the year and they owe significant amounts and they're wondering what happened. It's all because of a lack of planning when it comes to the amount that you're going to earn and the amount that's being withheld from your paycheck on a biweekly basis.